Welcome everybody to our May 13th board meeting, calling to order at 6:30. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend and those moms and mother figures out there were treated well and had a good time. This is Marissa Caravella speaking, and I'm gonna just walk through our agenda tonight. All right, so we always have time for public comment. And in the attachments for those on the Zoom, we have our new public comment, thank you, Kevin, policy out there. We're gonna then move to approving our monthly meeting minutes. Then I'll move over to the administration team to have the overall updates. We do have a discussion and vote on the new SRO contract, as well as discussion and vote on our 25-26 budget. And then any updates on our goals for 24-25. Karen has emailed me the PTO update, so I will read that off for her. I did add some additional board discussion topics that kind of came in this week of stuff we want to just talk through. Program support at the secondary from a fundraising perspective, as well as just looking at, initial takes at the survey data that was shared with us. Finance update. Kevin will see like how much is needed based on our focus on the budget, and then time for committee updates, including fundraising events, whatnot, and then Stacy will close this out. Did I miss anything? No. Okay. All right. So I will move to public comment. So out there in the public comment, we have the ability to, put your name in the chat. I've got my public comment assistant to help me monitor the chat. And we're able to just, chime in at 3 minutes of something you want to, bring up to the board in relation to the agenda. And also, as we go through the agenda, we'll monitor the chat if someone has something they want to say before an agenda topic. So give people a minute there. Anything? Okay. All right, we'll keep moving along. All right, so we'll move to approving our April 15th board minutes. Those are in there to review.
The motion.
Carla? Go ahead, Carla.
Oh, I was just saying I motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, minutes approved. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I guess that brings us to our administrative team report.
Okay, so I'm gonna let the principal start first. So either Kathy or John, if you'd like to kind of give an update about what's going on.
You want to go, Kathy, or do you want me to go first?
You go ahead, John. It's your turn.
Got it. Thank you. I just wanted to update. We are quickly coming to the end of the school year. Our seniors are actually having their last senior sunset tonight, which is so awesome. I can or cannot confirm, I may or may not be able to confirm that the senior prank was unleashed upon us last night, and the kids had a lot of fun with that. So I walked in and my office was really well decorated, and they did a great job.
Your
they
office
snuck
stuff?
in. Say that again?
Is your office?
My office was, yeah, we
awesome.
had a lot of, well, they had a lot of fun last night. So actually I was thinking about parents squaring them, like just the senior class, and telling them, well played, well played.
Cool.
Tomorrow's the seniors' last day. We're gonna have our clap out and celebrate all of the, like we've asked students, many of our students, where you're going after high school, what's going on. And we've compiled a little video and we want to be able to show that as they leave. So, it's a bittersweet time for us at the secondary campus that, and that some of our students are leaving, quite the characters. And next week is, of course, is our graduation. So we're really proud of them, and we're really proud of Miss Allison for kind of shepherding through, Miss Cindy for shepherding them through, making sure that each and every one of our kids are going to graduate with the diploma. So we're proud of them. We're also obviously planning for our summer. We have a really cool summer camp. The communication was sent home via Parent Square. I guess it was just the other day. So we already had some kids sign up. And again, really stoked about that. And of course, it's the end of the year and it's our testing season. And we're really proud of, really comfortable where we're at data-wise as the data trickles in. We are increasingly becoming optimistic about how awesome our kids have done. And showing what they know. So I'll update as things come in. I will make sure that I update Heather and the board about our progress.
Hey, everyone, wanted to thank, can you hear me? Yeah, wanted to thank our PTO and parents for their support of our recent book fair. It was a massive success, honest to goodness, how PTO pulled that off so quickly. It was very impressive. And the book fair was very well attended, and we raised a nice chunk, and I know PTO will talk about that a little bit more. So I want to also, Teacher Appreciation Week, we felt very appreciated. We had an amazing couple of meals for the staff and beautiful gifts. And so to all our PTO and all our parents who supported that, thank you very much. It was really lovely. Lots of nature going on around here, lots of birds. It's just been the most amazing number of birds nesting in the rafters of the school. Like, I've never heard or seen so many birds ever. So it's wonderful. And butterflies, the Osceola classroom in and of themselves have probably saved at least some part of the monarch population. Like,
Yes.
have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard this.
Every day they're releasing like 10 butterflies, so it's been amazing. And turtles, we have turtles laying eggs in the middle of our black field here. So yeah, nature is blooming and blossoming here at IMO. Next week we have International Day on Thursday for Lower L. So the children will be doing those presentations to the whole Lower L group of children. Which is something they're really looking forward to. They've been working very hard. When I saw children walking in with shoe boxes the other day, I thought, oh, dioramas. And they're like, no, Miss Kathy, the Coliseum. So yeah, so great constructions are going on. And then we'll have our first field day ever, thanks to Eileen and Coach C for getting that up off the ground, something we've talked about forever, and it's actually happening this year. So upper L's will be on the 27th and lower L's will be on the 28th. And we're looking forward to that. It'll be very hot, and we'll be very mindful of hydration. We want all our parents to slap on the sunscreen before they send the kids in the morning. And we're looking forward to a really fun day. We are getting through testing. Upper L is a couple of days into testing. Lower L is mostly done except for makeups. So hopefully by the mid to end of next week, we'll be done. And then there's only 2 more days of school left. So fine. Yay. That's it from me. Thank you. Okay, Stephen, you want to talk about operations?
So on the op side, we're getting ready for our busy season, which is the summer. I had a wonderful conversation with Marilyn. She is the contractor from Pro Level Services. We have done all of our permitting stuff. It's all with the city right now. Had a conversation with the city sanitation department. They have to approve some permits. They had a couple questions, but I feel really good. We're going to start construction the first week in June. At the latest, probably the second week. And a lot of that just depends on the availability of the trades. So I feel good about that. Our bus is going to have power in it the first week in June. So Dan from One Love Electric is going to take care of that for us. We can get AC in there too. Courtney would not like me if I didn't mention that we're going to have our summer camp. And something new that I can announce tonight is we're going to have soccer shots. They are a soccer event company, right? They teach classes. They are gonna come out the second to last week of our summer as part of our PE block, and work with our kids. And we are considering using them for a soccer club next year, which is something I know a lot of people had asked for.
Yeah.
Interesting about Soccer Shots, before we met with them last week, she got an email from a parent who asked about them, and if we'd ever considered them. So I think there's gonna be a lot of interest from the community. I think that would be something good we can offer. From the IT side, we will have our iPads for secondary. They will be here in the morning. So we're very excited about that and getting that set up, so that'll be a smooth rollout. I think they've been wonderful for testing up in Upper L, and I'm excited to not have that problem going forward anymore, to support John and what they're doing over there. I think that's it for me.
Alicia, do you have anything on the HR side?
We're hiring. We're gonna get contracts out hopefully soon, as soon as this budget gets approved, so that's the big focus.
I know we talked last month about the start and end time of the secondary, and I've kind of held off this month with that because we still have not had our schedule approved by OCPS for the high school. And so Cindy and John have been working really, really hard to try to get that approval. And it landed at 4 something today that it is sitting on somebody's desk. And so I called them and they're like, oh, I'm so tired of them blaming us. So they've gone back and forth, but I don't want to talk about start and end time until we see that we're gonna have enough instructional minutes, because that may also change things. So I kind of held off on that just to make sure that, first of all, with an 8 block, that we're gonna have enough instructional minutes without having to extend our day. Because we do go about 30 minutes less at our secondary level than a typical high school already. So we just want to make sure that it fits our 8-day model. And of course, the benefits of the 8-day model is more electives. And that's something that our students have asked for, so being able to do that. So adding music as an elective and a lot of the other CTE programs. So kind of tabled that until we can make sure that they're even gonna approve that schedule.
They give you a timeline.
Well,
Can
Once
I,
they find out whose desk gets on.
well, I know his desk is on, and so I called her and said, hey, and she's like, why do they do this to me? So she says she's going to her computer, I guess she has to hit approve, and then IT can upload it into Skyward. So yes, it's a lot of back and forth, right hand talking to the left hand, but I have to say Cindy and John have been calling them and emailing them every day, because we submitted it in January. So,
January 31st, and that's the date.
yeah, so we will hold on that until I make sure that that schedule is approved.
So there's nothing to approve on the lower school side because we're keeping the
Everything.
hours the same,
Right.
but because we're changing the hours for secondary, we have to get approval, and that's
Right.
what we're waiting.
Right, yeah, because we're going to an 8 block. Well, you have to get approved every year
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that we're hitting the minutes, and our Montessori model wants that work cycle in there, but then it doesn't count towards the 135 seat hours of subjects, so we have to rewrite that model to fit that standard as well. So
Okay.
we're just making sure, and then when you add an 8 block, that also shortens those 135 hours. So just for the public to know, you have 2 games you're playing. You have the 900 hours that you have to have in a school year for 4th through 12th grade, but then 9th through 12th, you also have to have 135 seat hours per subject. And so we have to make sure we hit both of those models in there. So that's what we're waiting on. So I would hate to start talking about changing our start and end time and then come back and saying, hey, you're still short. You have to increase it by the 30 minutes. So that's what we want to make sure.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So I kind of held up.
Do you have, are you gonna be okay to do that in June, or are you gonna, do we need to, is there gonna be an additional, we need to have like a quick session for approval on something like that?
I mean, I would love,
like, you don't wanna wait till June for
No, I
planning,
don't want
right?
to, right.
Purposes.
well, that's just it. I want to be able for parents to know
Yeah.
upfront, hey, we have to extend the day, which we have a backup schedule that it would just be that we would start at 8 instead of 8:30, or we would extend it at the end of the day. But we were kind of hoping that this passes
Yeah,
and the minutes pass, and then we'll be okay.
okay.
So,
All right, well, just email us if
I
you need
will,
a,
as soon as I hear
hold us
that,
a special session. I'm gonna put something on a Zoom on a calendar so that we
Okay.
can get that approved, because I know that you'll need,
right.
and we'll just tell Brett not to come to that session.
I mean, his last.
Heard that.
You didn't hear it, you didn't hear it.
Well, this one is beyond, just trying to work out logistics. It's really, we have to have the seat hours.
Yeah, no, that makes. that
Yeah,
makes
so.
sense. Okay.
The next thing is the SRO contract. I finally was able to get a hold of the city and they sent a contract. After talking to them to express some of my concerns about like what it costs and those kind of things, they did agree that this year they would keep for the next year the price the same.
Yeah.
Which is typical to what we did 2 years ago. If you recall, they kept it and then increased the percentage the second year. That's what they've done again. So this is a 2-year contract. The
3%.
first, yes, and then it would go up to 3% the second year.
Just like 2,500, I think, according to the schedule.
Yeah, so I think, everything else is exactly the same.
That's per SRO, right?
Right,
So 80 grand per SRO.
yes. Is okay with that, and we'll,
Yeah, you need a vote on that, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I'll move to approve that.
Um, we have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, yeah, your motion carries, you're good. We have to have an SRO. Not really an
Yeah.
option.
Not really an option, yeah.
Actually, we have 2 of them.
Right, and I'm glad that I was worried it was gonna come back to some crazy number, but
No, I'm glad they're holding, at least
Yeah.
that's good, so, but,
yeah.
I mean, and that's, a cost of living almost, so is what they're asking for the second year.
Right. The next thing is all about budget. So I know I came to the board last month and, talked about proposing a 2% raise across the board for everybody. And I know SFS is on here, so School Financial Services, so they're here with us. And so I'm going to give them an opportunity here in just a minute to talk, but I wanted to kind of explain on the raises. After talking with them, right now the proposed raise is 0.7% that the state is looking at giving across the board. And so we talked about, is it in our financial best interest to turn around and give a 2% raise when we're only getting a 0.7% possible proposed? So we talked to, and I know Amanda and Desiree is on here, about all of our options. What would be the best, if we give a cost of living raise of even 0.7%, if we do that, then we have to change our salary schedule for everything. And so I met with Alicia and Lily, I've met with SFS. And so my proposed to the board is that we created last year a yearly step increase. So for example, any non-instructional staff member, they would get an automatic bump on the salary spreadsheet based on their years of service. And so that, depending on how that falls, is anywhere from 0.7% to about 1%. Of course, as you go down the salary schedule, it looks a little higher at the beginning, but years of service, it goes less. So my recommendation to the board is to do the step increase automatic based off of years of service, and that matches what the proposed state FTE increase is. And then instructional, trying to hold true to the VAM scores where we pay for performance, but increase that to help make up that 0.7%. Because I don't know how familiar you are with the whole performance pay, but there is a portion in there that says you cannot give more than half, a cost of living more than half of your effective pay. And so by not calling it a cost of living and just increasing the performance pay, you're kind of hitting both. So they would still get their performance pay, but then they would also get that boost of increase at the 0.7%, like everybody else, but it would be tied to that performance pay. Is kind of how that looks. So my proposal in our budget, as you'll see, is going to be that our highly effective would be a total of $1,535, and that used to just be $1,000. And then the effective would be $1,155. And that used to be $750. So that would be the bump in the VAM, but it would include that same 0.7% kind of bump.
So we're doing a little bit more than what the state is doing or the county. I don't think the county's giving any raise this year, are they?
I don't think
I don't think
so.
so.
No, no.
And that's something that, when I
They're
talk
holding.
to SFS about, they kind of have a gamut of where they're
Yeah.
at. Some are not doing any. We did find that you don't even have to do the performance money pay anymore. You
Mhm.
just give the score. And so that's something that we talk through too, of what would that look like? And I just, I want to make sure that we give something.
Right.
But I also know the 2% is just not financially feasible. Now, if they come back, if the state comes back in the fall and they've given us a huge increase. in our
Right, we can
FTE, then we can
adjust.
definitely.
Yeah, and
adjust
just
that.
proactive
Heather.
or prorate it.
Just for context, like what is a typical FTE increase that like we've gotten before? Is this 0.7, like I'm assuming
It's
it's very low.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is a low year we're seeing, so I can speak to that. Right now, the legislature, they're looking at a 0.7% is the lowest, that's what the House has. And the Senate, their budget had about a 1.25. So they're still going back and forth, coming to a decision, but conservatively to budget, we're using that 0.7. It is lower than we've seen in past years. I believe last year was closer to a 3% increase, and prior years before that was closer to 5%. So we had some really good years with FEFP increases, but this year, the budget's actually called Focus on Fiscal Responsibility Budget for the state of Florida. So they're kind of reeling everything in, trying to not give huge increases this year to see how the economy is going to land, is our understanding. So a lot of our schools are being conservative with raises as they are on this budget.
Okay, that helps. That context helps.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you all have any other questions about that, about the proposed of how we do it? I mean, would I love to give our staff a 2% raise? Absolutely. But I also don't want to put us in a predicament that we've been in the past, and I would rather.
Well, and if
keep
things
it-
change, we can always adjust. So that's
Absolutely.
the piece of it that I would say the caveat is like, we can always prorate later in the year once we find out if once that number comes back and we've got that budget, we can alter later in the year. So.
yeah, just so I'm reading this correctly, the instructional staff will also get a 0.7.
So we're not gonna say it's a 0.7 because then it gets into the cost of living.
Okay.
And if we do a cost of living, then we have to change our entire salary schedule, and that goes for everybody. And so what we're just saying, that was kind of how we figured up the numbers. I'm looking at Alicia and Lily, but we said it was what, 435 was the average based off of a
Well, the 7% on the average teacher salary was 385.
385, okay.
Double that, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's a little bit more than what they would be getting really.
right.
Mhm, yeah. No, it makes sense. I'm good with that.
Is there any other questions about that? So then that leads us into the actual budget, and I have attached for you, the proposed budget, and I do have it in depth. I kind of did the same thing that we did last year. We broke it down by categories. I don't know if you want me to share my screen on this for everybody, or we just wanna go through it. I don't know.
Are you gonna share what you attached or something more?
What attached? Is that okay?
No, I got it.
Yeah, we have it.
Yeah, we've
Okay, you got it.
pulled up.
Okay, you got
Mhm.
it. Okay, perfect. And so if you look, I compared for you all the 24-25 budget to the 25-26. As you know, I don't like to write budgets based off of a projection number. So we actually want to look at student count. So we're basing this off of 935 students. We are in talks of opening up at least one class in a suite of Upper L. And if that comes to fruition, then I will definitely come back and adjust that budget to show that.
Cause that would increase us to 9.
It would add, if we only added one
55.
class, it would be 22 more students.
Okay.
So it would be 955, yeah.
Or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And then
22,
we go
57, yeah.
suite, yeah. But these are numbers that I think realistically we can get to.
Yeah.
And so I did compare for you one year to the next. And so you can see, the biggest thing I want to point out is that the federal part looks like a huge decrease, but remember we had ESSER last year. And so that part is not there. And then we went off the assumption of a 0.7% increase from the state. So that was kind of how we budgeted the.
So
state
the
money.
local seems like the best, like, increase, right? I don't know what's driving
Right,
that,
so
but-
yeah, the local, that would also include your, capital.
I was gonna say, is this, what is this our new rate of the Disney taxes?
Well,
Like,
yeah,
what are we
I know,
talking
I was, actually, I kind of downplayed that a little bit when I was doing the budget, because I'm like, I don't want to, bank on us having that.
I know.
So I did not give us the full amount, because I am a little nervous about that,
Yeah,
so
okay.
I definitely wanted to make sure that that was
Our
reflected.
two financial people on here are like, what is she talking about?
I know, like,
We didn't hear about that. No.
yeah, I know.
Sorry, ladies.
It's
We
okay.
kind of explained a little bit to
Okay.
SFS about our.
Yeah.
That also reflects, if you think about local, the increase in CASA, where we are adding the one classroom, so that comes out of local, that also
Oh.
is our base revenue.
Oh, okay.
Parent, supply fees are in there, field trips and club revenue, those are a wash, you'll see that throughout, like, we just made up a number of what we bring in, because what's going out is a wash for that. It also includes our bond proceeds, and what that is for the construction money that we will receive, that we still have left over. So that's $73,405. That includes that money in there, but we know that that'll be going out again. But after talking to SFS, we need to account for that in our budget. And then that's also investment income, any type of rental income, and then our local capital outlay. So that's what that local money is.
Okay, so it's a mixture of school revenue. and-
Yes.
Got it,
yes,
got
yes,
it.
yes. The only federal revenue that we have is Title II and Title IV, just so you all know, that's the only thing coming through, that's that difference. And then the state, just so you're all aware, in addition to the FEFP, you have your capital outlay revenue, a safety grant that we get, BBK funding from the state, and then any NSLP money will come in through that way. So that's just a little brief overview of what that looks like. And then you'll see expenses, and again, I have that kind of laid out for you to see the 24-25 compared to the 25-26 by codes. And so what we do is on our budget, we have it, it's this big elaborate system where we code everything that we could possibly think we're going to need for the school year. So anywhere from electricity, the water bill, all those things, to any type of programming, annual software license, all of that is all coded into, and then that's how those numbers are accumulated on the overall of what we're seeing. This budget does already have the increases for non-instructional staff, and then it already has a projection of if every teacher received the highly effective. So we always plan above that, and then we can pull back from that. So that's also part of that. As you see this year, the debt service on 9,200 remains the same, but remember next year that goes up 300,000 for that.
What's the operation of plant and maintenance of plant?
Yeah, so that's just your typical operation. So that could be paint, that's all the things that
What does plant mean? What does that say? Plant?
that's just the
Facilities,
code,
yeah,
the facility
facilities.
part. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like we're not on Plant Street anymore.
Yeah, I know, yeah, I
Has that
know.
changed from when we were on Plant Street? Is that like still like?
No, no, that's
market.
Yeah, I was like.
yeah, that's the facility side of
Okay.
things. That's
I
any
don't know, I've seen that before.
services, landscaping.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I
Yeah,
just-
yeah.
I'm looking at the Delta's food services. I mean, maybe that's not a big one. I'm looking at what were the
It
big,
decreased,
yeah, I'm looking at the Delta page of
Mhm.
kind of what were the big takeaways of swings. I mean, I'm sure stuff follows like FT, the amount of enrollment, but
Mhm. Oh, I didn't realize, I'm sorry, I didn't realize the Delta page printed on a separate one.
yeah,
so
I'm
sorry about
matching it
that.
up.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
okay.
it's-
Okay.
we can see it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Double screen.
I'm trying to think what would be the big ones. Let's see. food service.
They're not big swings, to be honest.
yeah,
I mean, just
let me-
operations, but that's because you've got to do construction that you're building in there, right?
Right,
That's where
yes, so that's
that's-
what that is for, and then let me pull up food services.
It was a 12 or 24,000 difference
Yeah,
decrease from last year to the new year, is why
Yeah, that just seems a bit off if our students, but
we're increasing students probably, but we're decreasing food services.
the funding of it, yeah, so, I'm looking at hers, the catering didn't come in as much as we projected last year.
okay.
So we went back and actually got a true number off of that. Last year, I think,
I remember you talking about that now that you said that.
yeah, I think last year we projected, and I'm looking at Lily, it was like 120 something, 130 something, and we actually spent this year projected 114. So that's probably the biggest difference when you're looking at your expenses for that.
That's a
Because
good
everything
thing.
else is the same. We did actually add, we need to get a warmer for in there, so we actually added the $2,000 that would cost into that.
Well, what I have on the 24-25 budget was 150 for the table.
Yeah, so that's the difference in that, like, not the big difference, but that's also one of the
Some of
big
it, yeah,
ones.
okay.
Mhm. And then, yeah, the operations of plant too. You also have to remember the operations of plant, we had between that and the maintenance of plant. They kind of commingled. We had that construction last year, and last year we didn't have a specific code for that to come out of, so it all fell in that code, along with any type of the hurricane stuff. And so those kind of mingled in together as well. Community service did go up. You'll see that spending, but it's, our projection is to really increase that, program in itself. And so like supplies have increased, but that we also included, which we hadn't in the past, any summer camps, any, spring break camp, whatever. So that also includes that. So I think that's the difference you see in there to ensure that we don't miss any of those things.
Is that base staff?
Not all of it. So out of the base staff, 202,000 is the base staff. And then of course you have all of their fixed costs.
Well, that justifies the amount of
Right.
increase there. If we're increasing what
Right.
we do, then we've got more employees working and staff there.
And we manage that as a function of students. So there's a ratio we hit, and Courtney's very good at, we're gonna align staffing to the number of students. So,
Yeah.
and I think the base program is gonna grow
Mhm.
probably 50 or 60% next year with some of the things we're gonna do.
It's good.
So I'm excited about where that's gonna be.
Looked like tech was a wash even with all those new devices.
Yeah, we're.
Because it's a lease.
Yeah, that's what I said. We're
Because we're not,
okay,
yeah, we're
okay,
leasing
yeah.
it, so it's consistent.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
That was actually a
Because-
wonderful thing that Apple did, because we don't have to front load,
Mhm.
$200,000.
Funds, yeah.
Just a curiosity, so Stephen, that increase, are those people where you have a capacity now that we're on a wait list, or you feel like we're gonna have larger attraction to base, or I guess?
The base,
Yeah.
so I think the base program is gonna be advertised differently. I think that we will generate a wait list, but what I've also told Courtney is I don't want a wait list. If I've got people who wanna be in base, we'll find staffing to support that. But, something Kathy's been a wonderful partner on, and Eileen too, is we're gonna change the way we do clubs next year. Where those are gonna be a part of the base program. So we can incentivize teachers to be able to participate in a club a little better, but also provide more opportunities for enrichment. So with all of that coming together, that's where I think the base program kind of grows. Adding things like soccer, things that the community's been wanting for a couple of years, that we're just now gonna be in a position to be able to offer.
Yeah, we definitely looked at the parent survey, and that was
Yeah.
probably the most eye-opening, was like, everybody wanted the art club, it only took 15 kids.
Yeah.
So we had a meeting.
It's like a
all
fight to
together.
try to get those
Right.
15
Yeah.
slots, yeah.
Is to really increase our clubs, so,
Yeah.
incentivizing, as Stephen said, the teachers to make it worth their time. but then also, giving more opportunity for kids to participate in base and clubs.
Well, if there's base staff there, then if we did have parent support coming in to help support, like if there's a base staff there, then we could have more of a, maybe a parent volunteer ran club, could we? Because we've got base staff, which is staff covering it, but then those, parent volunteer could come in and do some STEM
Potentially.
stuff or something,
Right.
right?
And I want to be really clear and
I'm just,
with the messaging with the clubs. If we would rather do everything with our staff. I always want to provide opportunities for our staff to earn extra money and contribute. If I can't get something like
Then,
soccer,
yeah,
I'm gonna be very selective with our vendors because our kids are everything to us. Our vendors have to be able to interact with them in a way consistent with our Montessori values. We're not just gonna bring in random person who doesn't have classroom management skills and that kind of stuff. We are going to be very, very cognizant of the program we're providing.
And the only other thing I did do a little bit different, in our committed funds under operating and capital reserve, we have to have the 3% operating. Excuse me. And then we have the capital reserve at 2%. I did increase that to 2.2%. It's an about additional 20,000. And I did that just in case something major happens, that we have that cushion. So it's like, it went from like 219, 191 to 210 on the difference. But I wanted that to start building that reserve, one for Disney, but two, if air conditioning starts going out and those kind of things. So I did put a little bit more money in our capital reserve just for that.
good idea.
Yeah, and so if we can continue to kind of cushion that a little bit, I think it wouldn't be as big a blow down the road if something would break.
And which line item is that?
Well, you probably won't see it on
Oh,
this
okay.
one, but it's on our, and I could share it with you, our overall summary that breaks individual down.
Okay, no problem.
So. And then, the biggest thing too is making sure our debt service ratio, and this would put us at a 1.31. Just to make sure we always kept that. We met that covenant. Any questions about the budget?
Kevin, anything else you have for us to add or think about? Concerns?
No.
Looks like we've increased revenue and, additional supports. This also includes the allocation of some additional seats for us, or not seats, but, staff for us too. So that's a positive that we,
Yeah.
we'll get some more staff on there for that.
This
for the
does
school
allow
structure.
for the MTSS that we talked about being a concern at both buildings. It allows to make sure that we have a nurse on campus here.
Eileen's doing so good.
Yeah. She is
We are light free right now.
She's doing so good.
medical degree.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That also has the counselor for social service position here. So it does allow for all of those positions too. Hopefully we can find some really good qualified candidates for those. So all of that is already built in to this. And then we also don't have in here, and this is something that the high school has done, but we've had 720 passes on the certification. So that's an additional about $100,000.
Wow.
That's play money for him over there, I think.
Right,
Like,
right.
I don't know.
And that has to go back into the
The school,
technology.
yeah,
side of things.
yeah.
So
It's
kudos.
already spent. It's
I
already
was gonna say, almost like, John's like, I know where that money's going.
Yeah.
That's why
so-
it's not in the budget.
That does not, we have not put that in the
That's
budget, because I
That's
won't
impressive.
put that in until I see it.
Yeah.
And
And
so
this-
we'll definitely do an
Grand,
amendment
wow.
at that point, but.
That's what I'm hearing from the CTE department down at the district office is that money will be okay this year. The question is whether or
Yeah,
not
that's
those same levels will be for next year. So we're gonna try to maximize that now.
obviously, because that's coming county right now, is that something that, because the county's not, they're reducing overall numbers and things because their enrollment is down. Is that something that we could push through the state or
That's a
budget
state,
wise?
that's a statewide
State
thing.
bill thing? Okay, I didn't know if there was like any like
No.
additional.
It's
like,
happening
actual
across the
point for
board
us there.
for, it's happening across the board for all CTE funding. The schools just figured out the magic formula, I think, and they weren't expecting it to happen that quickly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
John, was that 700 plus in one school year?
one school year
Wow.
since
Like the
January.
latter half of that's good.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's on the
Wow.
second half. So
That's
that is
impressive.
gonna help, with some of those other initiatives that they want to do at the high school.
Yeah.
And putting it back into those programs.
They start getting fourth graders today.
Yeah. We're gonna just trickle it all the way down.
Actually, you could actually.
3-year-old working hard.
3-year-old.
You're gonna know how to use that mouse.
Those digital tools are eligible. I mean, if we could do it in 4th and 5th grade and 6th grade as well to increase revenue. We just have to be very strategic in how we space out the kind of the sequence of those
Sounds like
digital
an
tools.
after-school club.
Yeah,
There
could
you
be.
go.
Computer club.
Yeah, computer club,
I love it.
CTE club.
And
Pay for your own base entrance.
well, club's free.
Club's free if you work for it.
I know maybe I missed this, but how are we doing with staffing that upper L? I know we didn't want to put that amount in the budget. It's like contingent upon getting the teachers and.
Thank you. Yeah, the pool of applicants has been great.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because people are losing their jobs.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So, yeah, so we've had, we've, hired
offered a couple,
already.
right?
Yeah, we've hired a couple already and we've been, another one in
How many open spots do we have left that you're still hiring for?
For teachers, I think we're okay in elementary, secondary, we're still working on a few.
Yeah. You have a math,
then-
what do we have at secondary? Might as well advertise it.
I'm not sure.
Oh,
that-
John?
that- Yeah,
So what do we have? So we are looking for a science and a math. I've interviewed some folks and I'm doing background checks on all of them. So I anticipate being staffed by the end of the year for next year. My goal, I want to be staffed going. I don't want there to be any surprises moving. into
No,
the summer.
yeah.
and these teachers have to be Montessori trained.
No.
No, they already are Montessori trained.
No,
No.
no, they'll go through
Yes,
training.
that's what I
Yeah,
was saying.
yeah. So we just try and make sure that their sensibilities around instruction and things with ours. Yeah, and we've been lucky. We found some great candidates.
Good.
It's good.
Is that in the budget for the portion of that we cover?
Yeah, yeah, and also the school councillor, Alicia, set us up with some really great candidates. We found 2 fantastic school councillors, like I would hire either of them straight away. So I was thinking maybe if John, I don't know, if they need any mental health supports in secondary, but we could send one of them your way, John, if you do need someone. Yeah, like they've been thin on the ground with school councillors, but now I guess Lake County also is dropping mental health supports. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so we are, it's a silver lining for us in the
Yeah.
dark cloud, yeah.
Well, that's a good place to be in, coming at the end of the year, to be almost fully staffed for a fall, next year.
Oh, we've come up to meet the teacher.
I know,
and not
no,
the
I
teacher
mean,
has the teacher.
and I mean, I'm sure you'll still have things to fill over the summer, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
things happen, families move,
Yeah,
jobs change, and so you'll still have some surprises. But if you have some other candidates that you've interviewed that were like, oh, they were good too, then you have some backup, so
yeah, it
that's
definitely
good.
feels better this year.
Yeah, that does feel good. Awesome. Any other questions about budget? I mean, I think I'm concerned through it. We have a motion to approve the budget as presented.
I will motion to approve the budget as presented.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any- All right, budget passes. Heather, you're good to go with it.
Is there any way, since SFS is on here, that we could just go ahead and roll into?
Yeah, go for it. We can skip.
That way they don't have to sit through all the other
Do the
stuff.
finance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amanda, Desiree, I'll let you kind of take it from here as far as just explaining, and then we'll have Lily to, just so the board knows. Remember, we're still working, now you're getting presented March
Yeah, we saw that.
budget.
Mhm.
So we probably do need to talk about that, trying to get that lined up. So SFS wasn't part of us in March, but I still would love for them to kind of introduce themselves and just talk a little bit about their company.
Sure. So I'm Amanda Eldridge. I'm Director of Operations here at School Financial. I unfortunately had another obligation during the last board meeting, so Jesse stood in for us. So I will honestly say that you guys, we have brought on several schools across the state of Florida, both from startup schools to transition schools like yourself. And this has been one of the most fun, thought out, easy, if I can be completely honest, transitions that we've had. And that is a complete reflection of your admin team. As far as they are punctual, anytime we ask a question or have a need, clarifying question, anything, they are within, I feel like, minutes. It's probably not the case every time, then they would probably disagree. But overall, it has just been an awesome transition. And I personally am very thankful for the opportunity for us to have to serve you guys. So with that, thank you for that opportunity. And thank you to your admin team for that transition and just how smooth we feel that it has been. And I hope that it's been the same felt on the opposite side as well. Some of our team had the opportunity to visit your school last week. It was myself, Keith Spence, which is one of the founders and current director, managing director here at School Financial, and Jesse, who you met last month. So we enjoyed our visit there. I can honestly say that all of our departments are up and running right now for the school. One of the things I think that sets us apart as far as your back office is, first of all, we want to be a part of your team. And I think that we joked a little bit at the beginning of our meeting last week because they all brought in their laptops and we had nothing. And when we sat at the table, I remember looking across and I'm like, so you guys are probably thinking like, y'all don't have a laptop or anything. What are you doing here? You know, but it honestly was a time to just get to know them personally and just be in your environment and grow that relationship, because that first and foremost is important, because that's what is going to breed a fantastic partnership as we move forward. So with that, we also provide a full staff that is going to be assigned from your banking specialist to your accounts payable specialist, your accounts receivable, and of course, payroll, accounting, and budget. So with that, you actually have an individual from each department that's honing in on that data to ensure that it's accurate at the time it's posted to your general ledger, which of course then rolls into your finance calls, gives you the opportunity with your board treasurer and your admin to dive in and really drill down into what's making up your financial reports. So the heart of our meetings will probably take place in those finance calls. Just because that's where you have the opportunity to dive in. So with that, as Heather said a minute ago, during this particular meeting, you're going to be presented with the March financials, because as your schedule of board meetings goes, that's kind of the schedule we're on. So with that, I know that it probably feels like forever ago, but it's okay, because I just want you to know that come next week, we're already talking about April's financials. So with that, I'll let Desiree talk for a minute because I can get long-winded and I apologize for that. But I'll let her explain her role, the vital role in the budget and how this one works and how we're going to roll into next year's as well.
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Desiree Kinnemer. I've been working with the admin team, Heather, Alicia, and Lily, to finalize this budget that they presented to you all tonight. As we go into operations, I'll be continuing to do projections as we see actuals. And if any amendments are needed, I will suggest those to the team, and then we'll roll into next year's budget. So it'll just be a monthly, we update projections, dive in on the finance call, and then we can zero in on any amendments needed. So that's my role with the accountant Miranda. You'll probably see her next month. She'll be on for the April financials after we review with the finance committee.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Nick. Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming. We could definitely move them up earlier each board meeting, so they're not having to stay on there for all school stuff too, so let's think
That's all
about.
good.
Well, we want to respect your time, so
We appreciate it.
we can think about that for our schedule for next time to just move their items, maybe financing them up together or something.
Okay.
Lily, would you mind to kind of share some highlights from our financials in March in the finance committee meeting?
Okay. So, what I have here for the March financials is we are, in month 9 now of our fiscal year, and we are trending at an average of 70% in each department. We did have a net loss for the month of March, and it was mostly because that is when all the stipends and the bonuses are paid for that Q3. And so there was an increase in those salaries because that's where they come out in the expense side. And from February to March, it was 14,582. And so the other thing that we did see a pretty big increase was in subs. We did look into that. It wasn't necessarily that they were all subs, but we had also long-term subs that were included in there. And so that's why it looked higher, but it wasn't just because we all of a sudden didn't have a bunch of teachers here and subs weren't here. So we did, get that resolved and kind of come up with a plan on how to separate that coming either before the end of the fiscal year. Well, I know we're pretty much at the end, or getting that corrected for next year, just having it separate so we know that there's the subs and long-term subs who are incurring those expenses. The other thing that we saw was CASA. Right now, we know that the books are separate for CASA and IMO. We are going to put them together coming next year. This is something we also discussed with SFS. They reached out to their auditor, and so we are going to merge those books together just so we have it all under that one budget. But in our March financials, we saw a net income of 55,000 for CASA in their tuition, and actually Building Hope forgot to enter 62,000 in there. So we are missing that in our financials, which was corrected afterwards. Overall, everything seems good. With the bond, we are currently at 59 days cash on hand with a 1.67 debt service coverage ratio and a 11.7 cash reserve as a percentage of revenue. So for the February financials, we were at 63 days cash on hand. We did go down a little bit, but we are supposed to have 45 days cash on hand.
What do we have built in for substitutes for next year?
I actually broke it apart, as she had said. So we have 100,000 in for regular subs, and then I think about 20,000 for long-term. But we also know we can play with those if we need to.
Right. So 120.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we're at 76 already for the year,
Mhm.
right? For in March, so. Okay.
Yeah, so we did increase that from this year because we also know we have to use Kelly subs because it's hard to find, especially at the secondary, and that cost is, double of what a typical sub for us is.
Do we have a sub per building on staff?
So I'm glad you mentioned that. I totally forgot. I did put that in at the high school level. And the reason I did it at the high school level is twofold. One, because Kelly subs is so much more expensive. And like I said, nobody wants to sub high school. I don't know why. I love those kids. But, and then also we need lunch support over there. And so by having that person, I've talked to John about that, is that if they're subbing in a room, then we could pull, one of the, assistants or clerks over to cover that classroom. So then they would also manage making sure we are filling out all the paperwork for NSLP and doing that. Because something we've seen this year is we are taking a loss on our school lunch program at the high school because of trying to get kids to take the meals that are, free and reduced and that kind of thing. And so we think by having a consistent person there every day, it'd be kind of like here,
Yeah,
we can help chase those kids. Just,
they need a Brittany.
yeah, they need a Brittany over there. So we do have in the budget a long-term sub
Mhm.
over there on staff that would help support.
Yeah, that makes sense. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Sorry, one more question, Lily. What if we, anybody know what we spent the previous year on subs?
Yeah, it was a lot. We actually, that was one of the things that we negotiated down. Because I think our budget went down to like 70, we said we were gonna spend 75,000, I believe. But we had spent, I think it was like 200.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah,
Yeah, it was over 200 some $1,000 in subs.
so we're doing better.
Oh, we're doing.
We're doing better. Okay,
We're
well, that's
doing-
good.
Ask the principal if I'm not sending an email. Your subs are up. We gotta do, but that was something that we had said,
Yeah,
we
well,
were
we
willing
want
to do
teachers
that
in
instead of
classrooms
cut a
as much as we
position.
can too. I mean,
Yeah.
they're the primary instructors, so
Right.
that's gonna benefit our students. But,
Right,
things
absolutely.
happen, right? So, but,
Yeah.
okay, well, that is trending better.
Yeah.
and why do we have to use the Kelly services for that?
Because when we try to hire our own subs, we just don't get very many people that say they will be willing to do it at the high school, the secondary building. I think for a lot of people, the older kids scare. Which I love them. Like being an elementary teacher, I absolutely love our high schoolers, and I didn't think I would ever say that, but but yeah, we just can't get when we're onboarding people to sign up. They all want to come here because they like the littles.
Of course. Would it be more cost effective to do something like a permanent TA that would be a floater?
So we have that now, but it's just really difficult because you got to think at the secondary, we don't have TAs in the classrooms. You know what I mean? And so if we have a couple of teachers out, and I'm gonna say, honestly, almost probably not always a good thing, but John and Al a lot of times will not even get a sub. Like they are constantly, Kavita's done an excellent job of trying to pinpoint pulling people to do that. But you're talking, at least I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but it's like $200 a day almost for Kelly subs versus what we pay. Yeah, so it's a huge difference because we're paying that fee. So the high school's already done an excellent job of trying to, like I know Leanna's been in classrooms, just trying to get pulled, but.
Well, also the thing with Kelly Services, because they have more staff, it's easier to find people, but then they handle all the payroll. They manage all those taxes and all that kind of stuff that we don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
The college
A brave
state.
woman.
Like,
You don't know where you're gonna end up.
college, I was, I'd stop for anything.
Any questions about the financial?
I did want to mention, just keep in mind, even though we did have a net loss in the IMO books, remember CASA is separate, so as we put them together, we should see those two merging. Also, SFS should be getting everything transferred over from CASA to IMO before the end of the fiscal year, and then it should be monthly that we will have all those numbers in one.
Any concerns there? I know that we've gone back and forth on that and we've always been told, no, we have to keep CASA separate. So and this might be more of a question for you guys, but that's always been something, no, you've got to keep your CASA books separate because of the funding sources with VPK or something. So is that not a concern for us moving forward?
Not, actually not at all. And Desi, if you want to, either way, I think we're going to say the same thing. The fact that it has the same EIN is really the driving source. And I think whenever we were having one of our introductory calls, that was kind of, I don't want to say a red flag, but just like a why, why are you all doing it that way? If it was a preferred method or definitely we would follow suit.
Or the auditor, we
Exactly.
even spoke to your auditors
Just,
specifically.
we did, Miranda did a lot of due diligence with not only your auditor, but an auditor with AG's experience. I mean, just really trying to make the best decision for you all. And it was a consensus of, let's go ahead and combine those. So I think that is the most kind of,
Seemed like the best decision in my opinion.
yeah. No, we don't have any that have them separate and
Yeah.
that have similar programs.
Okay. Thank you, ladies. Side note, just want to make sure, I maybe I missed it. Are we doing the music? Are we have all that covered in this budget, or is it across both campuses?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're actually going to add music at the high school.
Oh,
That's so we'll actually have a full-time music teacher as an elective there.
okay, and we have room for the, I know storage was an
Yeah.
issue, so I was like,
We're gonna
oh.
make it work. John has already been working with Steven to start making sure sliding things around to make it work.
Oh, that'll be great. No, we're not. Oh, goodness.
Any more questions for budget or SFS or Lily? Thank you, Amanda and Desiree. We appreciate you being on.
Thank you,
Always,
ladies.
thank you. Thank you all. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. All right.
That's it for me.
Awesome. So I can do the PTO update. It's an email from Karen. So let me go ahead and read that. PTO update. All right, so the PTO report for May 2025 from Karen. Teacher Appreciation Week was held on April 21st to the 25th. The highlights include the Zen Den and a luncheon on both campuses, as well as gifts and supplies and self-care items for the teachers. We also worked with the community partners to have some raffle items that got awarded to a number of teachers. A special highlight, secondary campus held a mindfulness, calm, and sound therapy event hosted by Free Your Inner Tree, while primary and elementary campuses had 2 massage therapists to offer chair massages for teachers and staff from both campuses. Very nice. I'd like to take a moment to thank our community partners, Subway, Jean Legri specifically, Apric Tree, Free Your Inner Tree, Sprouts, Publix, Trader Joe's, Einstein Brothers Bagels, Jeff's Bagel Run, All Fired Up, Sky Zone, Taco Bar, Starbucks, and Home Depot. One final note about Teacher Appreciation Week. Earth Day was on 4/22, and to celebrate that, we plan to plant a tree at the Lakewood Avenue campus and either vines or shrubs per Dr. John on the Silver Star campus. The project is still in progress and likely to be fulfilled in the summer months. Okay, book fair was hosted at Lakewood Avenue campus in the last week of April. We broke our sales goal of 10,000, selling over 13,000 in person and online, which tallied to 3,200 for teacher professional development funds. The check has already been provided to Lily. Wish it could be more, but excited to offer funds for continued education. Thanks to our parent community for the excitement and the many sales. Additionally, we have advertised we had 2 special guest authors to read at Family Shopping Night. One of the authors being our student from the Turing classroom. The PTO is so proud of our students. The Reading Pause program was also attended at the event, with Jessie the dog being there for students to read. We also have cultivated a lovely working relationship with librarian and fellow parent Shasta Quinn from West Oak Library Branch. She came to issue library cards, check out books, and give away goodies. Thank you, Shasta. One more highlight worth noting, our thespian troupe is amazing, in great part because of Lily Hastings. She was there to sell concessions to fundraise for the scholarship that she and the troupe started this May for their graduates. Very nice. Thank you for the dedication of Lily and for giving us opportunities to help support your work. Principal Appreciation Day. We celebrated with our wonderful principals, assistant principals, and some admin staff on May 1st with a catered lunch from Chick-fil-A. Our hospitality chairs have been doing a beautiful job with this school year, and this past month was a great reminder of their hard work. End of year bash. This is this weekend at Island H2O Water Park, a tradition started by my predecessor. We know everyone is feeling overprogrammed and ready for summer, so why not enjoy a little summer this weekend? Grab some friends and come on out. And gardening efforts continue on both campuses this month. We pivot to only Lakewood campus for June and July, and will resume at both campuses in August. Check the school calendar for dates. So thank you for that update.
Yeah. Awesome.
Always doing a lot
Doing
of
the
great work.
most. Yeah.
Yes, it's just exhausting reading it. Doing it all. Cool. So we want to go to our additional board
Mhm.
discussion topics.
Yeah.
You tee it up, or you want to tee it up about, there's an email. and-
Yeah, let's go ahead and just, yeah, you can go ahead. You're better.
Yeah. So we got an email from Michelle
Mhm.
and from our secondary campus, and she's been doing a lot of, lifting on her own to fundraise for different things over there, including international travel for the students over there, a sensory literature garden, a film course, and
Mhm.
so she just reached out and was like, it dawned on me I should try and connect with the board to see if
Yeah.
there's synergies, support, publicity, like
Yeah.
anything we can kind of plug into. So we wanted to just kind of talk through,
Yeah, I think that there's she had mentioned some passion projects, so we want to definitely share those because I think we might have people in the community that might be able to support or, connect even more so. So if we do have those, then we want to recognize those. Hopefully we're all copied on that email. But a couple of those passion projects, obviously, increasing the library, and working with a bookstore to kind of increase library offerings there. Art history course and continued visits to the local museums and the theater. What's the other? The Eatonville piece with Their Eyes Were Watching God as reading of that and as a literary work, but also then visiting Eatonville Museum and diving into Black history and so close to home right there in Winter Park in Eatonville. And then some film pieces. And this might be something that we have maybe even more of our community who has some additional technology pieces that they're really looking to launch a brand new course next year, a film course. So if you have any additional video cameras or sound equipment that's not being used or any memory cards, green screens, tripods, anything associated with a film class, I think they would greatly take some of that supplies. So that is another piece of it. And then the last one was that literature garden with that they're working with a Bloom and Grow grant to really increase literature and a space that is kind of like connects literature with the garden. So I think that's a really, really sweet. And then the international travel program. Goodness gracious, we have that. There's one more. So lots of good offerings there. We appreciate Michelle sharing that with us. I don't know if anybody thought about it or had any ideas or connections to any of those.
I had some thoughts. Well, I'm talking on behalf of our development committee.
Yeah.
Who are all in attendance. There's like three of us. I know, like I was gonna share that our last call was focused on broadening the effort in that committee. We want to really utilize the parents who want to have hours. This is an opportunity at night to join and just kind of broaden the amount of people participating in that committee. So, I was going to invite Michelle to just join that discussion and see
great.
like ways for her to plug in and us to kind of just, the more involvement, the more we can do. And that was my thought when I saw her email of,
Yeah, and I think especially going into next year, as you're talking about it, and we think about because volunteer hours are still required for the high school, correct? That's still part of it. And so I know that they have a harder time probably at that level coming in and doing reading buddies per se. So I think that there's some legwork that could absolutely be volunteer time on the parent side. So as we are gearing up for that piece of the parent information to go out, right? Like that should be a part of it is, organizing additional support for our arts and elective classes. They could even do some pieces there. That might be a good tool. Now, you know, the legwork, it becomes on whose lap does that fall on, right? But I'm sure Michelle wouldn't mind signing some volunteer time for parents who could.
She would appreciate it. These are all things that these aren't like hypothetical projects that she's working on. These are things that she's actively doing. I love how, you know, in the email, she talked about a few select projects. That's because we're like, hey, pull it back a little bit, you know, and there's a lot that she wants to do, and she's great. And she takes on a lot, especially with the international travel. She's done trivia nights. Her and Jesse have done some trivia nights to try to raise money. She is constantly, her entrepreneurial spirit comes out through this, and any support that we can offer her she would be so appreciative. She does so much for the students, and you know, all of these ideas, these are all hers. Like, she's running with them. It's like she's like, hey, can I teach an art history? And I was like, what does that look like? Or a film class, and she had it. She was ready to go. So these are all things that she's actively working on and will bring to fruition next year.
Stacey, if you would forward me that email, we do have a community member with extensive TV production who has already offered to help with TV, and I'm sure she's got resources for film too. So forward it to me and I'll send it over. But she's mentioned in the past connecting with college programs. A lot of them replace their materials and equipment, you know, before it's totally dead. And I'm sure we could bring life to it and be able to use some.
No, thank you. You know what, I didn't look that. And I'll add Carla and Sarah onto that too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'll connect with Michelle. Connect to those two.
That'd be great.
And then we also, regards to the Bloom and Grow, Jennifer left us all her materials. She's been the one who's been applying to that every year. So they've already secured it for this year, but for next year, we've got all of her resources.
Great, that's great. That's helpful. Yeah, I sent it to Carla and Sarah as well, so they've got CC'd on that. Thank you for letting me. I didn't even look at the invite list on it. I just assumed everybody's on there. Thank you. No, that's great. So if any other community members has any support that they think would be beneficial there, definitely reach out to Michelle or reach out to us and we'll get you connected. But I think that anything we can do to support the quality programs there, that's fantastic. So thank you, Michelle, for reaching out and just keeping us looped in. We love that. We absolutely love that.
All right, the next discussion topic was around initial discussion themes and action items for next year based on survey results.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So the school did collect surveys this year and just took some pulse on from staff and teachers and parents. So first I want to just say thank you to the community for sharing that feedback. It's very valuable and we are absolutely using it as we are planning for next year. I know the admin has already been diving into it and looking at it and reflecting on ways that we can improve and grow what we do. But first off, it's just thank you for completing it. There were some overall themes I just wanted to talk through with the team and just kind of look at them. One of the big focus areas was just on communication. A couple of my takeaways on there was the year at the glance. I thought that was an overarching theme that I was seeing multiple times, that if the parents and the students could have like a calendar at a year at a glance, you know, versus like, oh, here's this rising night or here's this, right? Like any amount of preparation we could do to prepare families to have that time frame, even if it changes, I think it's fine, but they know it's coming so they can start to plan for it. So I thought that would be really helpful for our community to have, and we could break it down, you know, upper school, lower school, community, you know, however you want to do it. But even like, I want to know what the upper school's doing. I want to know what the lower school's doing. So I think it would be good for all of our families to have that kind of year at a glance calendar for the school. I thought that was a really good suggestion.
We do plug all those things into Parent Square, but I know like,
Yeah.
and PTO has done a great one sheet. and
Yes, I love that
right
one. Is
now,
that
yeah.
one? Yeah, that one is key. Yeah.
Something like that would be great.
But I think for even our school events too,
Yeah,
right?
for
Not,
sure.
yeah, that would, and even if we share, like even if we take theirs and, you know, do a combo effort, you know, team it up, I think that would be fantastic. One of the other takeaways I picked up on was some broader vision, long-term planning, and I think that was key. They were looking, you know, what are we looking as we're growing, you know, and I think Marissa and I had mentioned one thing at, like, you know, one of the comments in there was like, we loved hearing about the iPads during the donor event, right? Like, so it was a great, but the whole school community, if they're not watching Zoom, like, how are we hearing about some of these big pictures or big focuses or the CTE? Like, that's incredible, right? And I know that, so I think that just as an admin this summer, I think that will be a good portion, right? Like that long-term vision, you know, that big step back. I thought that was a good takeaway. There was a lot of comments in there on transparent classroom not really being utilized as much as it maybe could. I know I don't look at it at all really as a parent because there's nothing in there like, I mean, like the report cards aren't even in there for upper L.
No.
Yeah,
No, upper don't use them at all.
yeah, so it's like, that was one of the things in there. Are we paying for it?
Yeah, it's very expensive. Yeah, I'm actually,
We're not paying for
not for
it,
upper, no.
Yeah, but like for the
Primary and
school,
lower, yeah, it's $2 a child per month.
per month.
Per month.
Do we need such
No, I've been looking
technology?
I've been looking at alternatives. We do need, I would like a unified platform for student observations and teacher
Yeah.
notes. And I do like that we have a digital, I want to move back to digital report cards for upper L too. I think the hard copy is a mess.
Yeah.
And nobody loves to format those Excel
No.
spreadsheets. So I've been looking for something new. Transparent Classroom has offered me a deal of $180 a child, which doesn't save us a much. Yeah, no, I did find one program that has $1 a child cost, but they're very small and they weren't, I just think we're a bit overwhelming for them. But any of the other similar Montessori platforms are around the $2 a child mark as well. And if I want to move them to upper L, that just increases the cost to a point where it's just ridiculous. So I wish we need a software developer to develop. Do you software developers? To develop a program. Is that a skill you could?
We'll work on acquiring that. We can learn together.
Yeah.
In Salesforce, I can do it.
Kate will do it herself.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Report cards through Salesforce. Salesforce is not cheap.
Yeah.
So yeah, working on that.
Okay, well, that's good because I think that was, and I mean, like, I've seen it for years. I have checked it from previous when I'm going through from different kids, but I'm like, yeah, there's nothing of the value in there. But
No, it's like
and
it's
nothing's
it's,
accurate. The
yeah.
attendance isn't accurate.
yeah,
and
no, it's a back end.
yeah.
It's a back end project
So,
for
okay.
observations,
All right.
and then front end.
Sorry,
is for
transparent
report cards.
classroom, but
Yeah.
you might be.
Kathy, was GradeLink the one you were looking at for that?
GradeLink was one of the options. Yeah,
Yeah.
Because I have a meeting with them this week.
perfect because they have a lot of functionality around payment systems and things like that.
I
too.
can't remember what day now because everything's blurred. Blurs day every day. But yeah, I did get a meeting
Some
with
sort of
them.
functionality where they would
I
do
think it's
multiple
Monday,
things.
actually.
Yeah.
It's
One of these, yeah. One
It's
of these
Thursday.
days.
It's blurred.
Okay, well, that would be good.
Report back in
Yeah,
June.
once once I have it, I'll share back.
Perfect.
Love that. Love that. The other piece of it, kind of on that same feedback, was like some feedback about report cards. Do you guys see some of that in there? Like the revamping of the report card piece.
Oh, yeah.
I know the report cards are very time consuming for our teachers to write out. And there's a piece of it that is, I would say, generic for the whole class. And then there's a piece of it that's just specific for the student. I don't know if that generic piece could be placed somewhere else, and then that would give less comment, but more specific comments just for the students, to save them overall time. I feel like there's a lot of copying and pasting that we could look on there, but just to put that in the bug in your ear is like, could there be any tweaks or changes if we're looking at a new system for report cards anyways, on revamping what we have? And that would have to be a community discussion between your leads and admins, but that was something I picked up on multiple times, is like possible different types of reflections or, more meaningful reflection pieces coming back from. And even, of course, more measurable reflection too, I think was another piece of it in there. But just to think about that, because I know you have grades, so it's a little bit different for you, John, because you're getting actual grades in there. But for the younger kids, something to think about. There were some good pieces on there for Montessori training that I thought. I loved that there was some parents and families asking for executive functioning training. They were really asking for a training on some support with their, and I'm living this right now, that pre-teen, teen life at home, how they could better support that family. So not necessarily like academic support, but how could they support their children at home in those different stages of development. So I loved that piece. I thought that was something I could see us really doing some parent ed nights on or providing some support on. So I thought that was good.
And we actually talked a little bit about that when we all met to talk about what are some other options too. Like we talked about sending out videos, like just brief little snippets of what does that look like, or if we did a monthly event, because some ask for Zoom.
They all ask for a recording of virtual. They're like,
so
because they want to do, I know.
I've already started talking about some of those.
I love that. Yeah. Then moving on to just some staff, some team building was kind of like mentioned in there. I thought that was a good takeaway, right? Like just more, not necessarily PD, but team building, professional development. They're just looking for, I think, more collaboration, more shared voice, consistency standards between what's expected of them versus one classroom versus another. I think that's something you see consistently, but I think there's some good notes there. Definitely had some focus on academics, but I think that we definitely are considering some of these things as we're making discussions on what we can do as a board to help as well. The cross-campus alignment came up. I love the idea of possible tutoring, so I was going to throw that back on Stephen as maybe if there would be like a base piece there. I don't know if we could have small tutoring sessions on like one of those days a week, or if that would be something that would be an optional. That came up a couple times is like, can we get some additional support? And with that, a lot of families still want they want to help at home, right? Like what can I do at home? I know that we don't have homework, but how are we encouraging reading at home, right? How are we encouraging practicing of facts at home or things that they should be doing at home? Like, so what is that piece and how does that look for each different developmental plane for our families? So that was a good I thought a good reflection piece. I know I have a lot, but I thought there was such good notes in these surveys that I just want to acknowledge those notes and take time. We're always looking for more electives, but it sounded like we're having that. We're happy to announce that we will have a art room and a music room upstairs next year, consistent spaces. So that is positive. So those are good things. Plus what the loveliness of the school bus will be. We're excited for those possibilities. And then instruction, I mentioned the report cards piece. Kids finishing work with something on there that I would like to see that we're just talking about it as an admin team as students have finished their work early in the week, and then what are they doing? And right, like there's always something, I understand that, but like what does that look like from classroom to classroom? Is that consistent expectation? Is it different expectation? As students finish their work in one period, are they moving into working on some other things that they have? Are they working on projects? So I think just addressing that and making sure that that's consistent from staff and teachers. Resources. So this might be back on Stephen's plate. Resources for students. So as you think about like how we can support students and families at home, is there a possibility of building a website that would be student-friendly, user-friendly, with resources that would mirror the Montessori resources? We have we did it during COVID, we have virtual resources for all of our Montessori tools. I can remember using them. That would have like lower L, click here, upper L, click here, primary, click here, secondary even, we could have the spots there for different subjects or whatever the course is, and that would be resources for that course for students to use or practice things at home with. right? Like maybe even specific to, you know, like reading suggestions or practice for the family. So any additional things. So that was one of the, I thought, ideas that would really support families at home too. Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if there's a way to customize like the Khan and the Splash Learn, that we could have like this would be appropriate for your child or this level.
So we actually met today, Cindy, John, Stephen, and I, to talk about the website design. More around the high school, you know, we definitely want to start promoting what our students are doing once they graduate. And so they've already got a list of every college that students have been accepted to, or whatever they choose. And I think John mentioned already doing the video we want to put up, but then it led into this whole big discussion about how the high school webpage looks completely different. And would you go to our webpage and realize that we even have a high school secondary program? So then we went down this rabbit hole. So we've already talked about redesigning that anyways to where we have it by planes, you know, that if they wanted to click on the CASA program, they would click this pretty picture of the CASA building and all things CASA, and then elementary and then secondary. And so I could see maybe having those resources as they click on that level.
Student support.
Yeah, like
for
what
this
that
plan or
looks
something.
like. So we could definitely add that to our discussion. We thought about having some of our secondary staff to weigh in on what we needed on there, but we could look at even at elementary and.
I think it would be a great opportunity this is gonna be my 5th year and it'll be my 5th website. So not get rid of what we have, but bring the schools both closer together. Like, I'm really excited to sit down with Kathy and John and say, this is what we have. Now you go back to your teams and build something better, right? And bring all of that together. And it's been wonderful to work with Kathy and John on so many little things now. I think it's gonna drive really what you want, and then the resources piece becomes a part of it, because I have no idea what Montessori resources are online. So.
They've got the beat boards. You can play right with the beat board right online. It's
But
nice.
to leverage Kathy, who took us through COVID, and to be able to pull those resources
Yeah.
back out will be amazing.
If we wanted beat boards online.
I know.
Yeah, no, but I
like,
get you with the Khan Academy, and like there's definitely things in elementary that
Right,
we're
or I
using.
mean, and if even like if you say, well, here's 2nd grade, here's what we're learning in 2nd grade, and we have that for them, then they can, practice it. Like, oh, this week, the teacher shoots an email, hey, maybe, review this with the parent, with the kiddo at home or something. Like, I feel like we brings a little bit more full circle of support.
Something else that's really cool, we met at the secondary campus kind of thinking through that Apple environment, but there are a whole bunch of resources that would seem to me, not as an educator, so I will defer to Kathy and Eileen, but there are a whole bunch of things that this iPad can do that when Allison Frank saw it, she immediately went, that's a shelf work. Like, so I think as we kind of transition further into this Apple ecosystem, we never want the kids to be on devices all the time.
Right.
Like that's so antithetical to the model. But when you talk about like programming and logic things, like where you're building those typing skills with devices we already have, those can also go into the home environment too. So I'm excited to have that conversation more now that we're learning a little more.
Like ways to use AI, because all the kids are going to need that.
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
So how does Canvas play a role in this?
So Canvas is the LMS
Right.
for, learning management system for secondary. I don't know that it would play a role for elementary.
Could it though?
There's a cost to Canvas,
More than $1.80 per student.
significant. Canvas is a great tool for a very specific
But we don't
purpose.
need that with what it's doing right now. So at least we'll just get that $1.80 back. Let's see here. Let's see if I can go through. I'm almost done. So those were some of my big takeaways. Was there anything else that you guys, I just think it's important to share those things with our community. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to share from your reflection of looking at that survey?
Yeah, I was happy that 100 people participated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives more
Validation.
validation to like where do we focus on that from a trends perspective?
Yeah.
And I really have to thank, I know Karen's not on here, but like her support of pushing that out, she just kept doing that for me, and well, that was really nice to make sure. And just so you know, on the administrative side, I've shared all this with the admin, but some of the stuff we've already started tackling, but we will be using the summer because we've already talked about putting stuff out, even for our staff, to say, these are the dates you're expected to be here. Parent conferences was a big thing, so we have that now embedded in the calendar. So definitely want parents to know that, we're looking at, we may not be able to change everything, but we know we need to streamline communication among grade levels. Like that was obvious and hearing that. So those are the things that we're gonna try to work through this summer.
And there was a lot of thank yous. I'll say that too. Like a lot of like, thank you for at least just asking. Thank you for trying to get, some insight, and thank you for loving our kids. Thank you for supporting them, right? Like there was a lot of positive feedback in there. It was, it outweighed constructive criticism by far, I feel like, and overall, so that is good. Yeah, so I just wanted to spend some time chatting about that, because I think it's important to know that we have those things coming in and that we're utilizing it moving forward.
Yeah. And an important part of surveys is for people to hear the feedback. So that was good that we had that on recorded of like, here are the themes. So people want to know that they can watch the video. Are we okay to move on?
Yes. That's all I have.
Do we have a financial update, or was
We already have.
done?
We're done.
Okay.
Everyone's checked his box.
Got it. So that brings us to our committee updates. And also reviewing our board goals. Do we want to talk a little bit about, I know we have some interested board members out there.
Yeah, I mean, we still have to meet with them, and so
yes, we have some requests to meet with them.
Thank you for being patient as we get that organized. There have been other things that have taken precedent, so over our board life recently, but definitely we hang in there. We will meet with you and get to know you, and we look forward to it. But that is still on my to-do list for a few of them. And then I think we have, Brett has one more meeting, so with us in June, but we will really need to be filling some roles, officer roles next month. So that will probably be some movement next month to move those officers' roles.
We did meet to start cross training.
You seem super excited about it. That works. That's what happens. You've been here less than a year. You're going to be trained up for an officer role. Goodness. Okay, that works. So I feel like let's put that on the agenda for June to make some of those transitions as we move him out and move new officers in. Okay, does that work?
Yes.
And then we might even be at that point, might be ready to look at adding to. Should be good.
Okay. For committee, do you have any updates?
Yeah. So the grant committee did not meet in April. We're going to have our last meeting of the year in the next couple of weeks, but Stephen and I did meet to start on the work on the website page, and I will take full responsibility here that Stephen got me something very quickly and I have not yet reviewed it, so my apologies, Stephen. But hopefully by June we'll have something to show you. But we're working on our form and our website page with all those resources. And when we were talking about Michelle's programs, that's exactly what we intend this to be, as just, it doesn't have to be for anything specific, but if someone's got an idea for a passion project and they need our help, they'll be able to fill that out and get the information to us, and we'll be able to help them resource.
Excellent. Okay, so for the development committee, we met in the month of April, and then we meet later in the month, so we'll meet later this month too. Our focus recently has just been kind of a consistent weekly update about our fundraising, and it sparked a lot of questions, right, Stephen? It was like a lot of comments based on I'm posting about the
Mhm.
iPads
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and they wanted to know if it's for both cameras. So
Yeah.
we ended up doing a really elaborate
Mhm.
FAQ, if you saw that.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I guess
Can't
that just
wait up
shows to your point, like, is, you know, when you tee something up, it starts at a lot of questions come up, and then you realize people like want to know a lot more about what's about to happen. So I thought that was good. It served dual purpose there of talking about what we're raising money for and also explaining what was coming. Yeah, and then I kind of alluded to before, we really want to focus on getting more volunteers into that committee. We're, you know, with limited resources, we have great ideas, but like we only have so much bandwidth to execute. So we could do a lot more if we had more volunteers. That was,
Yeah.
and subcommittees, you know, and like I was thinking, like subcommittees get help at the high school, Michelle's wish list, you know, to be able to be broader reach in that
That counts
area.
for volunteer hours. We find a system that will also track volunteer hours. When you look at that grade link, think about that too.
Grade Link does have it.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. Get some volunteer hours that way.
Anything else you want to share on that?
It became apparent to me through doing this, the community has great ideas and they truly want to see us and they want to talk to us as an admin team and as a board. You know, the more input we get, there's no monopoly on good ideas. I've said that before, right? And there were so many great connections that came out of the donor event, but then just the FAQs and the emails that I've gotten from just people who say, here for what it's worth, you know, not trying to tell you how to do your job, but here's thoughts. And they're things that I didn't even think of before. So more,
Yeah.
you know, I will read 100 emails from our community saying, these are our ideas. Like, please bring them on because we certainly can use them.
Could we add that to one of our board meeting sessions? I'm trying to think of where and when it would be appropriate. We won't meet in July. June's too quick, but maybe like September or August is a little nuts. But like a share fair, like a possible like open idea time frame, like, hey, do you have ideas to, I don't want to say solve problems because I know that can, like, you know, but I'm trying to be like innovative ideas on ways to support, you know, electives or arts, or we can even have it focused. I don't know, like then that would give, you know, if they come, like I would say a meeting in person, like I don't want to do that over Zoom. Because I think that then that would get people, if we held like a small, like kind of session, then people would come and then maybe make connections. And then we could say, all right, you two kind of work on that. That's a great brainstorming session. You guys work on that. Like we could get them in the building for, hey, we'll give you each a volunteer hour for coming tonight, you know, but if you could talk about it and share and think about some innovative ideas on some of these, we could use big buckets. If you have ideas on any of these big buckets, come share any ideas you have, innovative ideas, and then maybe we could group them and build subcommittees that way if we just got them. If you get 2 volunteer hours for coming to this event and sharing.
Yeah. I think if the framework was around stuff we wanted to accomplish to begin with, that would help focus it. You know, like we talked a little earlier this meeting about people looking at, oh, with you know, the iPads are part of a greater vision, right? But that like plays into, I don't know, hopefully it's making
Some
sense,
sort of
but
like share fair, innovation share fair in the fall to see if we could maybe like build some volunteer people that way too.
What if we piggyback off of Meet the Teacher and we have like a board stand where we can like split up the shifts between us and just kind of outreach, and then we can collect information. And we can meet beforehand about what we want, what we need, and then have everybody assigned that way. Okay, we'll pull you in, and then we can kind of build our communities that way, because everyone's coming to that.
I love that idea. Another thing we thought about is because we're going to be auditing volunteer hours next year, that if we advertised Meet the Teacher is your opportunity to sign up for committees, because they're all going to be gone and you're not going to get your hours. So like almost make it, you know, competitive, like advertise in advance what the committees are and say you need to be here, you know, to get on that committee. Like just message it as if it's a benefit
because then
to
you
you.
love that. That works with working parents because it's mostly virtual. So a lot of people were complaining about that, or not complaining, mentioning that they can't get the in-person hours, so that would be helpful.
So we just need to have that ready to go by Meet the Teacher. I mean, we always have a booth anyway, so that's nothing new, but we could have focused things for people to sign up, provide contact information, and then subcommittees could reach out and we could host, take a meeting and like start to get some small groups and then let them run their groups.
Yeah, and we could pick out a few topics, but then we
Mhm.
could also do to your point about the share fair thing, like
Any
just have people
ideas?
write down
Yeah.
things that they could help with, or talents that they do
Yeah.
have that they
Yeah.
could share, yeah.
Like that.
I love that.
We
I
just need to
kind
make
of,
sure secondary isn't on the same night, if you're gonna have the board.
Right. Well, we could split.
We could
but,
split.
Yeah.
yeah,
There.
I love that. That already sets the tone off for the year that we want people to come approach us
Mhm.
and to tell us about what they have. I think that's a nice start of the year tone.
And then people would like interest in group together.
Mhm.
on the
Yeah,
left.
that's how I want to, find community that way, right? Okay. All right, let's roll with that. When's the meet the teacher? You're in the glance. Do you have that out?
Oh, man, I'm gonna turn that around right now.
11 more days.
That means like I'm never sitting next to you like that.
Listen, I know they're already to kill me because I'm already working on 25, 26, and I'm shooting the principal's messages like, okay, by the 13th, I need you to review this. Okay, by the, I'm like, I know you're still in this year, but I'm giving you to June 13th.
Silly season for us, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Is that all for the other committees? I've got one more for me.
That's it. Yeah,
Okay.
just two active committees.
The executive committee is also meeting and just looking to ways we can support the school based on surveys and based on administration and structure. The good news that I have for the team is that we have convinced Heather to stick around with us for another year. She, because we all know that 2 years is never enough to really to move the dial. She has made such amazing progress for our school over the last 2 years, and we are in this strong place, I feel like, because of that. But now we're gonna get her in limited capacity, but we're still gonna get her for another year. So we're excited to have that continuality for our school. We know it will benefit our staff and our students. So I think that will be a big positive. We're looking how we can support the school moving forward, but as soon as we have more information, we will absolutely share that. But the positive is that Heather is going to continue supporting our school because she's done an amazing job with it to this point. And I think that will really benefit our team to have that same person for another year and continue to support our staff.
But I can't take credit. It's definitely the people I surround myself with.
Yeah.
You could take some credit.
I definitely surround myself with people that are a lot smarter than I am, and it's the team.
You've delegated to a good point at this point. I feel like finally we've got people. I mean, we've got Alicia, Stephen, Lily, not to mention amazing principals, APs. So I think that we are getting into a much better shared leadership approach. And I think that is key, right? Like that's we're such a big organization that it takes a lot of people to move the dial. So it does. So we appreciate you, all of you. And I think that's it. That's going to wrap us up. We are May 13th. You've got 11 days, according to Kathy, left of school. Again.
Tuesday's not done yet.
Oh, goodness. But make sure you're sending in all your goodies for field day. So I have a volunteer list.
All the good things.
All the fun stuff to bring in, and enjoy senior walkout and graduation next week. That is crazy. I'm so excited to watch the kiddos and see them graduate, our largest class yet. So super exciting stuff.
How many?
41?
I know.
Is that what John, what do we have? 41 graduating? What's the number?
40-ish.
42.
42. I'm
oh,
one under.
42,
We're gonna have 42.
That was a great guess.
Yeah. So that's awesome. That is
Quadrupled from our first.
I know. Yes. I mean, we're going from 2 rows to 10 rows. So
Yeah, I think tonight's senior
Hello.
summer.
Oh,
That are over there now.
Oh, that's
Setting
awesome.
up for that.
That's
So, yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. Well, have a wonderful evening, and we will be here in June, and then we take off July. So we have but we wish everybody a wonderful rest of the school year.
All right, thanks. We will adjourn at 8:14. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.